Action. Okay.
Action. We're going.
Here we are.
If you guys are listening to this on like a podcast, go to YouTube and then cover your eyes because I'm as red as scorched earth right now.
How do I look? Am I tan?
You look brown.
Okay. Yeah. This is the one time a year I get to actually show my half Mexican side. I took some Jews up Camelback Mountain the other day. Very religious experience. And of course, the one Jew has to.
Did you come down with a bush?
It's a religious reference. I don't understand. And one of the Jews I took up the mountain goes up in jorts, jean shorts. I'm like, this is the most Jewish thing in the world.
Yeah, very.
Like sandals and jean shorts. I'm like, of course, you know.
Yeah. I like it. I have been hurting all day. My face is like, I'm like rolling with people and grappling. I did not want, oh my gosh, it's like blistering out of my
Oh, I know
eyeballs.
how that goes.
Oh, I hate it. Yeah, my kids had a football game on Saturday. Well, they had 3 football games. So I was there from like 9:30 till 3, just in the sun with no sunscreen, no nothing, just anger, just pure anger. And here we are.
It's so funny what you get angry about. We were just talking about that. Maybe I've said this on the podcast before. Back in the day, like people did not know you. I didn't like to go to restaurants with you because it was like you'd ask for like a coffee a certain way. And if they like didn't do it just right or the lid was turned a little bit, it was over. Like you lose your mind a little bit.
I'm not an asshole. I would just say like, hey, could I get
excuse me,
changed?
This was supposed to be this way. And the poor waiter would be like,
No, you are being a little.
No, come on.
Like, I mean, I did once throw a burrito at the cook's face, but 1, he deserved it. And 2, like they build. These are moments that build.
How many people have you told to 60? How many people have you told to fuck off out of the gym, including me, over the years?
I mean, you probably deserve it.
Now it's like the other dad was just starting this kid. He was a little older than my kid. Like, screw him. Oh, it's know the rules.
It's all about the flag football these days. All about the flag football. And I was just telling you guys, off camera that I am. Like they were playing, one of my sons is playing up. He's 11. He's playing on a 13 to 15 division because my older son's team doesn't have enough kids because the league fucked him. Just getting angrier. So like they're playing 4-on-5. The other team had 5. And it's like, dude, play 4-on-4. And I'm just being obnoxious, hoping somebody says something at this point. Like I'm waiting. I'm going to be the dad at the wrestling tournaments and stuff where say something. Just do it. I dare you. I dare you.
You don't incite the arguments, but you're definitely ready for one. Ready for the fight.
Well, I'm also obnoxious, and I will say cunty things. Just if there's, but even the other day, like a woman on our team, like her son, there's like a bad call, and the woman's like, "That was pushing and going on, and this and that." And I said, "Nah, it's fine." She's just dropping F-bombs. We're on this. I mean, these are like 11-year-old kids. That was a fucking. I said, whoa. Hey, it's not that serious. Stop. She's like, I said, we're in a kids division. And she's like, I know what we're at. And it's like, dude, like, I just don't like, I like fairness. But even again, like, it's a mom on our team dropping F-bombs. I'm like, no, this is like, we don't do that. There's a certain way to act. I feel very entitled and self-righteous. And I want things to be a certain fairness of things, and then I'm okay with that.
It's funny. We were at some pay-per-view in LA. I think Vanessa fought on that pay-per-view. It was the Ngannou one.
Okay.
And we got done and we were walking to go eat with Eddie Cha after the thing. And the only thing that was open was Denny's or something like that. And I remember some dude got out of the UFC event, had a beer can, chugged it, crushed it, opened his window and threw it out. And I like looked at him and I did the usual thing. Maybe this is where it originated from. I just pointed and I pointed at him and he rolls down his window and goes, "What the fuck you want to do? You want to talk some shit?" And then you stepped up and you're like, "Come on then, bitch. Let's go."
Oh, it's funny because I don't remember that. I remember you going like that, but then that was the end of it. I didn't remember anymore.
Then we just walked back and we're just like, this is not worth fighting. But I'm like, you're jonesing for it. Like, hey, littering, playing too many people versus one.
Well, it's just littering is a bad thing. Like I almost got in a fight with somebody pretty recently over this guy pulls in. He's in like a Bentley or something, Rolls Royce, like some really nice fancy car. And he was young. He's like my age. Like in the scheme of things, it wasn't like some old.
Whatever you're about to tell me, he's allowed to do because he's got that car.
No, he pulls into a Starbucks into the handicap spot. And as I'm walking out, and he just jumps out and goes in. I said, "Dude, that's a handicap spot. Like, don't do that." And he's like, "What the fuck do you care? You're not handicapped." And I was like, "Dude, Like,
yeah, neither are you.
Yeah, like, dude, like somebody could be pulling up in a wheelchair, like with the audacity of somebody who can walk fine to park in a handicap spot because it's more convenient. Stuff like that grinds my gears. And
no, I can see that. That kind of stuff does drive me crazy too.
I don't like it. But anyway, whatever. What'd you think of the Steve Ursig fight? I want to talk about that last card.
So I had a lot of huge bets on Ursig. I had like a bad week in general. I kept losing. I looked at my picket. I lost money like every day of the week, and on just stupid shit. The amount of stupid things that I lost money on. I had Michelle Pereira round 1 knockout, or just like round 1 or 2 knockout, and then does a backflip and goes for a guillotine instead. It was like little things. I had Aldo round 2 and 3 knockout, wobbles him, goes for a takedown. Would have
on death's door wobbles him.
Yeah, would have saved my whole night. Yasmin Lucindo for a knockout, and I get it. Oh, she's a woman. She could have finished that fight if she actually pressed the issue. She got to the mount, was beating her up at the end of the first round. Like, she could have finished that fight. Doesn't go for the kill. It was just like every small little thing just along the way just killed me. And so, I had already had a huge bet on Pantoja, and then I'm kind of watching the fight, and I'm like, shit. What did I have? I think I ended up, just on straight bets, I had 7,000 straight up on Pantoja. And so I'm watching the fight going, uh-oh, I see where this is going. And I thought it was really close. And I think, like most people, I kind of thought it was 2-2 going into that 5th round. I thought it was 2-2, and I'm going, man, I think Pantoja's done. Like, I started live betting Ursig like crazy. I couldn't believe some of the live odds. And then obviously he goes for the takedown and loses the round. And I thought that was a crucial mistake. But I think, honestly, the judges, 2 of those scorecards, they got it right. I thought it was 3-2 Pantoja. I thought that was extremely fair and accurate.
I agree. I think 4-1 was a little much.
That's too much, yeah.
But so Steve Ursig is young in his UFC career. They said him numerous times. He had 3 fights beforehand. He's fighting for a title. We went over today in MMA. One of the things I talked about was the Ursig fight and just the fight IQ. He was going for takedowns in the last round. Like, what are you doing? The only place where Pantoja was beating him was in those grappling scrambles.
And I wouldn't have minded it, but in the first 3 rounds that he did it, he was getting out scrambled.
Mm-hmm.
If you had a guy that's dead to rights and extremely tired, like, okay, I totally get it. That's how you're going to seal the fight, seal the deal. And even the wrestling shot was really good, right? He shot in and then cut the angle and got him down. But then you have the guy who's literally only winning by out scrambling you. It made no sense.
He's one of the best grapplers, if not the best grappler in the division.
100%.
One of the best in the UFC right now. He's just that good at in MMA jiu-jitsu, just controlling
100%.
the back, taking people down. The other part that Ursig, where I thought he really messed up, and I think he panic shot because he was like, man, Pantoja keeps blasting me. And what Pantoja does, we talk about this a lot, is he has shit cardio, but good cardio for the way that he fights. And because he goes so hard and then he death gasses himself. Then he just sits on the outside and does nothing until he's ready to go again. He explodes.
And he literally swims his hands. Like,
yes.
He's like Diana Belbitsa, but it works for him.
It works. But all Ursig needed to do was just keep his jab going. If he had just kept that jab going, that stops a lot of the Pantoja blitzes, because Pantoja would blitz whenever he wanted to blitz and go in whenever he wanted to go in. And Ursig is just stalking him right there, right in front of him, not doing anything, waiting. And if Ursig was just, and then while he was waiting, then Pantoja would blitz, whatever happened, then the same thing, rinse and repeat. But if he was there, if Ursig was just there, just throwing a jab, not even intending to land it, just hitting the hands, putting something out there, disrupting the comfort level of Pantoja, so that even if Pantoja did blitz, it wasn't going to be quite on his terms. And I think Ursig could have won that fight.
I think this is something that he was kind of thinking in the moment. And this is something just even day to day when I'm sparring, this is something that kind of goes through my mind. He was like afraid of his own success. Pantoja's dead tired. He's on the, back to the cage. Ursig's standing there beating him up. And I think he was winning that and then going like, shit, I'm having too much success. Like, what's about to happen to me? Is he going to blitz me and crack me? Is he going to take me down? Like, let me get ahead of this, even though I'm already having success. You can land 100 times on somebody and you're still sitting there wondering like, okay, well, what's coming next? And so you get in your own way of whatever's already working.
Well, we had a fighter today actually say something similar. It's funny you say that, like your own success. And he was like, yeah, I'm been teep kicking. He's like, but I am landing all of my teep kicks. And I just am wondering, like, at some point, are they going to counter and this and that? And me and Eddie were standing there, and Eddie Cha was actually like, why? He's like, if you land 10 jabs, don't not throw the 11th jab because you're worried about him doing something. You landed it too much.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. And it was like, now, again, you can't become overly predictable. You got to feint and mix stuff up and go, but just do it. Become, just make sure that you're mixing stuff up and landing.
If you throw a leg kick and there's no response, no answer, no overhand right coming back at you, okay, well, we do the first one and then we check the second one. And of course,
I was just thinking the same thing. Remember when Faber fought Aldo?
Yeah.
Can you imagine if he would have stopped throwing the leg kick?
Yeah. Just, so I said to Anderson, just throw the front kick. Like, just do it. Keep throwing the leg kick.
All right, Steven Seagal.
Yeah, I think that's all I got for.
Aldo looked great. That was awesome. By the way, I don't want to make our fans at home jealous, but my house the Portuguese was flowing at my place.
Hey,
Mackenzie Dern came over to watch the fights at my house. My TV, my dogs, Aldo on her story. It is what it is. Be jealous, everybody.
Do you have anyone we could name drop, Gabe? Like, we just start talking about people who are important. Like,
I'm not that cool.
Hey, man, I was recording a podcast, and Kamuela Kirk was sitting there in the same room with me.
Oh,
wait, what? Huh?
Hey, lovers.
Hey, one other thing about the Aldo thing. So funny. Aldo was a dog, and everybody kind of in the know was on Aldo. And I want to say that we were special because we called it. It went exactly like planned. But I think a lot of people did. It's like, dude, he checks kicks and he boxes. Martinez kicks and doesn't box and has a hard time with guys who can check kicks and box. I mean, I get that Aldo is old, but he's 37, not 41. And he's been active. He's been boxing. He's been looking good in the box. Like, I cannot fathom how Martinez was a favorite, how people didn't crush money on him.
But I could understand it. It's just where the line went to. So when the fight got announced, whatever, it opened up like minus 110 each side. It was a pick'em. And I could understand that. I'm like, man, Aldo is really good, but he is super old. And Martinez, knocked out Yanez with leg kicks, and he is really good. That's just first glance. I was like, yeah, Martinez is probably gonna kill Aldo, and that sucks that it's gonna happen to him in Brazil. And then once you started diving a little deeper into the matchup, it looked a little different. I kind of thought about this. So one day I was watching tape, and then whatever video I was watching on YouTube ended. And so they play, just the suggested new ones. And it was all Aldo's old fights. That dude is unbelievable.
It's unreal.
He almost kind of went through like a Mayweather thing where he used to be a lot more offensive and have a lot more tools. Mayweather used to knock everybody out. And then somewhere along the line, he was like, no, now I'm going to be the best.
Arturo Gatti.
Yeah, I'm the best defensive guy.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, man, how would you even beat Aldo? Like, I get Max Holloway did it. You out cardioed him and paced him, stuff like that. But in a 3-round fight, you can't kick him. You're not going to outbox him. His head movement's great. His defensive, his firing back is great. You can't take him down. You don't have better jiu-jitsu than him. What do you even do to Aldo?
You literally have got to sleep him. Look at Connor. Look at Max. They slept him. Like, you can't.
Or cage push him and hope that the judges score.
Look at how well he did with Merab. Defended all of Merab's takedowns. I mean,
he's the most defensively sound fighter I think I've ever seen in my life. It's unbelievable.
Right. So, let's get in this fight card. What do we got? Oh, and my wife is home, so I can take a little bit of time.
Good. All right. We were rushing every single other podcast that we did 10 times. Thanks, Gabe.
Got you guys. Got you. Hey,
wait, are we recording audio right now, or are we just wasting this?
Listen, man,
just doing this. Is this a test run?
Why are we living in the past?
Why we got to bring up bullshit?
Yeah, why we got to bring up the old stuff?
All right, so we're starting off with old shit. Esteban Ribovics. I'm just kidding.
All right, first fight, JJ Aldrich plus 114 versus Veronica Hardy at minus 135.
Oh, this is so funny. All right, I'm not gonna give this fucking loser credit, not or like a shout out, but this idiot comes on every time. You keep talking about numbers that nobody else can get. It's like, yes, you can go get them anytime you want to. Just gotta be a little quicker than that. Okay, so I like this fight. I kind of thought this was a pretty close fight, and it still very well could be. Hardy, I think, is ready for that next step. She's a weird case because she was already in the UFC, looked horrible, left for a long time, and then came back and was like Natalia Silva. She just looked incredible. Her takedown defense all of a sudden is good. She pops back up. She's got great cardio. She puts punches together. honestly, I think JJ, her best thing is that she just doesn't make mistakes. We've kind of said that for a while. I love a fighter like JJ who just is consistent every time. Decent striker, can decently wrestle, decent grappling, doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Nothing phenomenal, nothing fantastic, not a champion, but doesn't make stupid, silly mistakes. Now, in this fight, I just think she's outmatched. I think she's outgunned. Hardy is so fast, puts combos together, and has shown such an improved fight IQ. And honestly, I attribute this probably a lot to Dan Hardy.
Oh, 100%.
That dude's got a great eye for the game. He really knows. He knows how to win fights. Like I love his IQ, and he's given a lot of that, I think, to her. I attribute to him a lot of that stuff. I just think you have one girl who's so much faster, more athletic, ring generalship, good looks. Like, if there's going to go to the scorecards, not conspiracy, but I'm saying maybe a little conspiracy.
Nah, people always give the better looking, better athlete, better, like, the moments. I mean, as dumb as it is, those things kind of matter. Like, the judges know, and somebody said this to me recently. I might have already said it on the podcast. As I said, look, the judges for the UFC are flown around the world, put up in nice hotels. Like, this is a thing. They get to go places. They get paid this and that.
It is, yeah.
They are not being paid to, like, give a certain fighter a lean or this and that. But they know who the UFC is pushing. And if they consistently judge, again, in a close round, all things, hey, this is a 50-50 round, I got to choose the winner. And they keep choosing the side that the UFC doesn't want to win, the UFC is going to start bringing other judges.
Yeah, if the more marketable fighter wins, that means they can sell more, which means I still get paid more.
Exactly.
I don't know. The whole thing is really, like, weird and corrupt. Even boxing, like, I just realized this boxing, like, there's not the same sanctions in boxing betting as there is in technically UFC betting. And so you had that guy like Raymond Murtala the other day, who his knockout line was like minus 350, minus 400. Drag that dude to a decision. And I just saw someone say this morning, they're like, yeah, unless you're Murtala's family and you all bet on the decision. And I'm like, yeah, it's so simple. Like, why wouldn't you? Like, that's not throwing the fight, losing on purpose. It's just winning, oh man, I just wasn't feeling it today, and you can make any excuse in the book. I like Hardy. I think the big moments, I think she's really fast. I think she's really good. Eventually we're gonna line up a matchup with Natalia Silva, and it's gonna be a taekwondo off.
See, I'm not ready to jump on the Hardy train because I like her. I like what we've seen since she's come back. But before she came back, and again, it's kind of not Natalia Silva, like bad pre-tape versus.
Can I say one other thing?
Go for it.
This was kind of the biggest thing for me. So we had both picked Montana De La Rosa against JJ.
Yes.
And the reason that we had picked Montana De La Rosa was because of the grappling. She's a good wrestler. I like Montana De La Rosa's wrestling. She's solid. And she decided to do zero wrestling in the entire fight. And there was a couple interesting notes that I actually heard when I rewatched that fight. So one, that they were training partners back in the day, and then they expressed how much De La Rosa said it was hard to take Aldrich down and how energy zapping it was every time she shot in a takedown on Aldrich, which now explains why she didn't shoot or wrestle at all. That was already in her mind. What was so interesting about her last fight, JJ's last fight, and Veronica's last fight is both of those were former training partners, because then she fought Horth, who was a former training partner. And now Horth is massive. She's
huge.
She's 5'6", 5'7" for that division, where the other girls are 5'4", something like that, or a little smaller. So she's huge for the division. She had just dropped a weight class, big body, good striker. Honestly, I think moves a little bit better than JJ. JJ is going to be the same height as Hardy. But here's kind of the main point I was getting to. We chose Montana De La Rosa on the premise that she would wrestle, grapple, make it dirty, make it ugly, fill that space. And all she did was one punch at a time. Bop, bop, bop. And she still, according to the UFC stats, still outlanded JJ Aldrich on punches. So if one shot at a time, Montana, who's not really a good striker, like, she's fine, she's not great. Now you're going to have Veronica Hardy, who does put punches together, is so much faster, throws 3 or 4 at a time. I think she's going to rack up numbers and has those bigger moments. That's, for me, what was the big tipping point, is just watching those striking exchanges.
No, I see that. And I can't actually, like, negate anything. It just, I don't want to put too much stock in her beating Horth, who is physical but not technical and very good. And she's slow. And not that JJ's not. And then Juliana Miller, who is Juliana Miller. She's almost like Paul Craig of the women's division.
I don't put a ton of stock into that, but Veronica's performance was good in that fight.
Yes.
She looked great.
She's looking good. But prior to that, she lost to Bay Malecki, who is just like, has no power.
She's a 25-time Swedish kickboxing champ.
She's amazing. I've seen more power in like a mosquito than Bay Malecki. And then Aldrich is just fighting the top girls in the division. She's losing to Erin Blanchfield. She lost to Ariane Lipsky by decision. She is durable as shit. I could see the low kicks and durability pushing her on the cage. I'm not sold. Like, look, she looks the part. She looks good. I'm not sold. I'm not ready to just like hats off to her yet until I see her beat a JJ Aldrich. And I think Aldrich is going to squeak out a boring decision.
JJ Aldrich is going to squeak out a boring decision?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Wow, rough. Okay. Anyways, next fight then.
All right. Let's go.
All right, next we have Jared Gooden plus 200 versus Kevin Jousset minus 245.
Man, this is a funny fight. These two are the same fighter. Like, they fight the exact same way. What do you mean? I mean, they fight exactly the same way. Narrow shoulder, hand down, almost Philly shell boxing, flicking a jab, low kick, narrow stance. These two fight the exact same way. Watching tape on them, you're like, damn, like who's what? The issue with Jousset fighting with Philly shell is he actually just, you can't drop your hands and stay square. You've got to narrow that shoulder up. And Gooden actually does a much better job at narrowing that shoulder up than Jousset. And they look very similar, but man, Jousset just gets hit. Who did he fight last? Was it
Song Kanon?
Song, yes. And man, Song landed that overhand right a good few times. A couple of times it looks like it was going to land, but it was just a little bit too short. And that was just stance on Jousset. Like, gosh. I was thinking that as I'm watching Jousset first, I'm like, man, that overhand is too close. And then I'm seeing Gooden come out and looking very similar and doing a lot. And I was kind of going, okay, he's going to find his way to that right-handed Jousset's chin and do it. And I don't think he's going to. I think he almost throws to the body a little bit too much. And he does stuff. He's just not, he's kind of in there and he's a busybody, but he's not like murdering people for the, to the death. And I think that Jousset's physicality, if you watch him in that same stance, like jab for jab, Jousset's jab looks stiff and mean, and it's going to hurt. And same with the right hands. And when he goes, he's going for the kill. He's got the jiu-jitsu. He's not the jiu-jitsu. I'm sorry. Like the wrestling, the judo, the trips. Like
judo's a lot of that.
The grappling. Yeah. And we saw Turman land a lot on Gooden and get these beautiful takedowns on him. But Turman's going to Turman, where I think Jousset is not going to Turman. And so I think his just durability and his cardio is going to be fine to not die like Turman. So I like Jousset here in a very, and the other thing is they both calf kick. Gooden calf kicks as a probe to like touch, to draw a reaction.
Jousset tries to take that thing off.
Jousset tries to like knock it off. And so in a very similar stance, very similar movements in these people, I like Jousset. But that chin, man, is a liability the way he leaves it.
And Gooden's chin is all good.
No.
Okay, all right.
No, I'm not saying it is. I just mean in future fights, that chin, if he keeps leaving it there, is going to get touched.
The thing is, though, is he's so comfortable with it. We've talked about this a million times. It's the punches that you don't see are the ones that always clip you and catch you. The fact that he's sitting here with his hands down, he's like, all right, come on, throw it at me. And he's...
Well, to an extent, you look at, and he's older, but who fought Menifield? Your guy,
Jacoby.
He does that too, and he sees the punches, but he's so front heavy on that leg that he's hands low, touching, and man, Menifield put him down with that.
I think that's a bad example because I have said this for years. So two things. One, I'm the best Wellington Turman capper on planet Earth. There's not someone better at Wellington Turman fights than me.
I think I called Gooden over Turman, and you were on Turman.
No, I wasn't. Run back the tape.
Go back in the tape. Go through it.
Yeah, no,
go through it. People.
I chose Gooden. I actually had Gooden
go through it. People.
Knockout, but then he ended up getting the submission, which nobody saw coming. But no, I was big on Gooden on that one. I've called every single Wellington Turman fight, no doubt. The Jacoby. Jacoby is one of my favorite fighters. I've told this story a million times. He's the most money I've ever put on one fighter in my life. But 40 grand on him.
All right, we skipped the story. Let's go into where we're going.
Skip to the story. But ever since that time, I was like, man, someday he's going to have to pay the piper. He hangs that chin out, and I don't think it's like Jousset. I think Jousset almost baits it to trade shots. Like, hey, you're going to throw this one at my chin, and I'm going to stick that jab right there.
Dude, that's like saying somebody like leaves their leg there for the kick. Like, no, you're going to try to check the kick. It's just fundamentally flawed. I get what he's doing.
Jacoby doesn't throw a stiff jab. Jacoby sits here like this and just like pause,
Dude, it does not
and he gets
matter.
cracked.
Jousset is doing the Philly roll, that narrowness, wrong. He's just too square on it. I get what he's doing. He's just leaving his face there unprotected. Turn your shoulder over a little bit as you're doing it, and you're good.
How funny is if Wellington Turman and Jousset fought, who would you choose?
I think Jousset.
Like not even close. I think.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
like,
wouldn't even close. So Wellington Turman was -200 favorite in the Gooden fight, and then so is Jousset, just about the same odds. I just think that's funny because I think Jousset's way better than Turman. Just honestly, cardio, pacing. He knows how to like really. He's one guy I think that kind of paints a picture of a fight. He's not a There's a lot of guys and like CDF. Diego Ferreira.
Oh, okay.
Diego Ferreira. When he was fighting Michael Johnson, this is just the most recent tape I was watching. It's not like he set things up. Like he was jabbing him, getting him to bite on stuff and hit him with an overhand. He was getting his ass kicked the entire fight, closed his eyes and swung an overhand and got lucky that he cracked it. Whereas I think Jousset's kind of the opposite. He starts, feels you out, starts to break you down, starts to get you thinking high, low kicks, and he starts to mix things up, and then he looks better as the fight goes on instead of closing his eyes, swinging, praying for that one, or trying to hurt you with, these big shots. I like how he fights over the course of 15 minutes. I think it's great. So I got Jousset.
All right.
In a blowout, honestly.
Oh, yeah. No, I think it is. I think he's going to dominate.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you made that sound in your breakdown like it was going to be super close.
Not at all. I'm just saying their stance and the style, the way that they fight is super similar. Jousset's just better at it.
The fact that Turman was cracking
him,
him
good cardio,
was alarming.
I'm just saying, like in their stance, they both are narrow. I just Gooden covers his face with his chin better, whereas Jousset's taller, and at some point he's getting away with it, but at some point somebody's gonna make him pay for it.
Yeah,
is all. Yeah, like honestly, what you're saying about the Jacoby thing, it's like, man, at some point somebody's gonna hit him. It's not gonna be Gooden, but
Jacoby, I thought I was the best Jacoby capper, and then I turned into the worst because I kept thinking his downfall was coming so much sooner than it was, and then the one time it did come, I didn't take it.
Yeah.
All right, next up, Jake Hadley, -170 against Charles Johnson at +142.
Go.
I think I kind of want to pass this fight. I don't want to talk about this one.
Me too.
Yeah.
Hadley has come and trained with us.
And he'll probably come again.
And he's probably going to come back. Both of these guys are really good. They're actually, let's go as vague as we can, because we don't like talking about guys who have spent too much time with us, and he's probably going to come back, whatever. They're both good strikers. Hadley's more of a boxer. Johnson's more of a kicker. They're both good at jiu-jitsu. I think Hadley is better offensive jiu-jitsu. Johnson is very good defensive jiu-jitsu. And their cardio is both pretty good. Like this is I think more than anything, I think it goes 3 rounds. I don't see a finish in this. In a really competitive fight. That said, going back and watching that last Charles Johnson fight, I thought he lost it. I thought.
Who do you fight?
Asmat, whatever it was.
Oh, no, I thought you won.
I thought that was a close fight, but I thought, man, I don't know. All right, next up, what do we got?
Wait,
next.
I'll say this. I'll just say this one thing. I think if Hadley had any kind of fight IQ, the dude could be as good as he wants to be. He's got really good wrestling. He's the biggest flyweight I've ever seen. I mean, he's thick. He looks like a 45er. It comes down to this. He almost reminds me of like Lupe Godinez, where he just has all the talent in the world, but makes the worst mistakes. Stays on his back too long, does this, does that, when he could easily make the fight a lot easier for himself. And Charles is almost kind of the opposite, where he fights a really bad game plan, but then constantly makes good decisions, I think. So this is going to be power and aggression versus speed and accuracy. I don't know. We'll see. It should be a good fight.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Next, we have Trey Waters at -170 versus Billy Goff at +142.
Okay, since we took a pass on that last one, go on this one.
Trey Waters and Billy Goff?
Yep.
Yeah, I think Trey Waters is going to blow him out. I mean, everybody loves some Billy Goff. It's funny. Ask what Billy Goff is good at, and what's the first thing everybody says?
He's tough.
Oh, man, he's a junkyard dog. He's super tough.
Worst insult you can give a fighter.
It's the worst insult you can give a fighter. He gets his ass kicked every single fight, finds a way to come back in. Trey Waters is like, what, 6'10", something like that? He's crazy huge.
He's enormous.
He's enormous. His height is really huge, too. He's got a great jab, and that jab is something. That is a notable jab because it keeps that range, keeps that distance. What I love most, and they talk about it every fight, is, well, we're kind of just talking about this, but he's way better than Jacoby at it. Is he sticks his chin here to pull and fire back, and he's great at it.
You can leave your face out. You can't leave your chin up and your face out.
Yeah.
And that's what he does, is he baits correctly with that range.
At least he pulls it. Jacoby doesn't move his head.
Whereas Jacoby kind of just pause and touches. We saw that with Pichel in this last fight as well, where he's too close, pawing with the hands, comfortable with that chin in the air, and you can't do that. You got to tuck your chin.
I think the magic's running out. What is Billy Goff going to do? He's going to have to get in his face, dog him, pace him, do all that stuff. Trey Waters has a good clinch. He's got a great jab. He loves to when other guys throw that jab, he likes to follow with that two right over the top. That's a thing that a lot of the Killcliff guys do. I really love that strike.
Does he train with Killcliff?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I just remember Fialho doing that a lot. When people would throw at him, he always fires that two over the top off the jab. It's a great punch. I think he's a really, really good striker. He's tall, really hard to deal with. And if you have a guy that's not insanely educated on cage wrestling, to take down somebody that tall is very, very hard. Quinlan couldn't do it. Billy Goff to me is not UFC level and is getting by on a lot of heart. And he's been set up a few times to lose, somehow keeps finding ways to win. And I think the luck's going to run out here.
I'm with you 100%. I was trying to find more information about Goff, just his wrestling background and stuff. And I saw a bunch of interviews. And he's actually a personable guy. I like his interviews.
Super cool.
Yeah, seems super cool, super like down to earth, like talks a lot of trash on the internet, but just kind of gets the game. Like, and you could tell he's just a smart guy that gets the game. But how does he win this fight? It's got to just be tough and grind and go. But there's nothing that we've seen in Trey Waters that says that he's going to, it's not like he goes out there and is death gas or out or bad decisions. Like,
he did get beat up a little bit by Jalen Fuller. But also Jalen Fuller, it's
a lot taller and just an awkward fight.
Awkward, more athletic, and speed to the target. And he's a lot more reserved than Billy Goff. He doesn't just run in and start swinging body shots.
Yep. Yeah, I like Trey Waters here kind of a lot.
All right.
Next, Tabatha Ricci, -148 against Tecia Torres, +124.
I believe it's Tabatha Walsh. Can we get a correction on that?
I didn't tape this, which is a surprise. I actually was like thinking about it and going back and forth, and then I just was like, I always wait. I'm like, if I have time, I'll tape a woman's fight. So I got through the men's fights, got to JJ, and then I actually meant to tape Tabatha. All I'll say is I think, because I've seen both these girls fight, I know, Tabatha's come out and trained, and I think Tabatha is looking a lot better. Over her last couple of fights, I like her striking. I like that she's better. I mean, I don't think it's amazing, but I think it's better than it was. She did a really good job in that Jillian fight, moving laterally, finding her moments, looking good. Tecia is a little boxy to me, and I like just in her striking, just like a little bundled ball. And I mean, man, physicality for physicality. We've talked about it. Tabatha might be the most athletic woman the world has ever seen. She's got a great judo background, a great jiu-jitsu background. She has cardio. Her biggest thing is her striking. Her biggest issue is her striking, and that's getting better and better. But I think all things considered, the whole package, I think Tabatha can get this done.
Well, and Ticia's 2 years off with a baby.
Yes.
So I kind of did a lot of digging on this one because I got really early numbers on Tabatha. I got her as an underdog. Now she's flipped to a favorite. I understand Tabatha, right? I get it. Like, I think I was the only one on her against Loopy, and I could understand where the tough parts of that matchup came. And here's something is when you know someone's specialty is a certain thing, a lot of times you won't even go to it. Just mentally, you're like, man, why would I try to shoot a takedown on this girl who's a 10 times better wrestler than me? I'm just going to, it's a lost cause. I think now going against Tecia, it's going to change a lot for Tabatha. Tabatha too has always been by far the smallest girl. She doesn't cut weight for this weight class.
She's like Hezbollah size.
She really is. She's what they listed at 5'1". She, Gabe and Kamuela, you could speak to this too. When we were out there, she was eating sushi with us like 2 weeks out before her fight. And I'm like, how are you going to make weight? And she goes, oh, I just stopped eating a little bit, so much food. And then eventually I make it and work out harder. She doesn't cut. She cuts like a pound the day of. It's crazy. Tecia is going to line up to her a lot in size. They're both 5'1". They're both kind of the same frame. And actually, it's funny. It's been a while since I've watched a Tecia fight. Mackenzie was at my house for the fights on Saturday. So then I went back and kind of like watched that fight, obviously for this. And then, I'd watched, Mackenzie's last few fights. And I'm like, man, like Tecia went life and death with Mackenzie. Life and death with Mackenzie. And that was on the feet. That was on the ground. That was pulling guard. That was all kinds of stuff. I think Tabatha's got a better game than Mackenzie. She's high volume, not a good striker, but she's an effective striker just in terms of volume. She sticks it in your face. She can mix in the wrestling.
She's a good woman striker. And I don't mean that derogatorily. A lot of times with women, you need volume and movement, and she has volume and movement. And that a lot of times is enough to win women's fights.
So someone else said this. They're like, yeah, well, Jillian won a round against Tabatha and look at what kind of striker she is. And I just kind of thought to myself, like, yeah, she's a shitty striker, but I almost think that that's better against Tabatha because it's weird angles, weird volume, weird stuff. I think that Ticia's need to land clean, strict, precise strikes is actually what's going to lose her the fight. I think she's going to get behind in the strike count super early on. And exactly what you said, she is extremely boxy and makes kind of a lot of footwork mistakes, weirdly on the feet for how accredited a striker she's always been labeled, right? She's always crossing her feet. She's always resetting. Her knees are like knock knees. They're always in. She's kind of slow. Honestly, just not even on skill, on tenacity and age, I think Tabatha is going to win this.
I'm with you.
All right, cool. Next, we have Terrance McKinney, plus 145 versus Esteban Ribovics at minus 175.
I had a hard time with this one in a couple different things, like on some ideas.
Here we go.
Calm the fuck down. Sit down over there. Torres.
You are like the biggest Terrance fan in the world. He could fight Godzilla. And
Would you
be like,
shut the fuck up?
Double leg to the back.
There's a lot here because you got Ribovics, whose takedown defense is not great. And then you've got whose cardio is just phenomenal. But then you do have Terrance, who's going to get a takedown early and going to jump on his back early. And then it's like, man, can he get that choke early in the first 2 minutes and go? And so you're thinking about it. And he's just such an athlete that he's going to have success in that first round. And I think Ribovics is going to win because I think two things. I think he almost knows to just lay on his back and not turn and give up the back to get the stand up. And he does that well. And then he also attacks the Kimura to get back up as well. So he does a good job of creating some space without turning and giving up his back in the positions. Then he just has cardio for days. He's got a blockhead. He's got a chin. And then I think McKinney, as athletic as he is, as fast as he is, as good of a wrestler as he is, people kind of know it's like Paul Craig. Like when Paul Craig first came on the scene, it's like, no, my jiu-jitsu is good. What is it? Krylov, who beat him up, looking amazing, jumps in the guard, defends a few triangles, defends all the submissions, is like, oh, okay, now I'm good here, and then gets caught. And now it's like, no, don't go down with him at all. You can always beat him up standing. And that's McKinney to me because his stance is so, man, I want to talk about a chin. He just sticks it out there and just swings and goes. He's just all gas and athleticism. And I think people are just like, Ribovics is good. And if this was a guy, if you look at the guys who McKinney is beating, they're not good. And then he's losing to the good guys. Ribovics is good. Now, that said, man, that first round submission live McKinney is always real, especially against a guy who does not have great takedown defense right off the bat. I think Ribovics wins this. I think Ribovics will probably finish it. But man, that the takedown defense of Ribovics and the offense and the jiu-jitsu of McKinney in round one is just definitely a threat that people have to think about, of not making this out to be like, all right, this is a slam dunk.
I think this is a slam dunk. I don't even think this is a close fight. Well, we do luckily have producer Kamuela in the building, and producer Kamuela, if you guys don't know, is a black belt. And I think you could attest to this, a very good black belt in jiu-jitsu. And he did take down Esteban. Loic Radzhababov, great wrestler. That's like all he's known for is his grappling, chain wrestling over and over and over again. Kamuela has kind of painted himself a little more as a striker, I guess, in the UFC and just in his fights in general, but he can wrestle really well, and he took his back. Kamuela, are you able to speak on what it was like when because you had that, 2 times you had the full rear naked choke on. Was that you not squeezing as hard as you could to try to save yourself for rounds 2 and 3? Was he just that hard to choke? Was the angle not right? Can you give us just some insight on what that was?
Yeah. So one thing that Esteban did really well was he hand fought really well. And so I was trying to get my grip locked in so that I could squeeze, but I was never able to secure a strong enough grip where I felt like I could commit to the squeeze. And of course, I didn't want to blow out my arms squeezing for something that I didn't feel was there. But from the second that I took his back, and I had his back for the majority of the first round, he was hand fighting, and just never let me figure for my arms to really commit to the choke.
Now, I got a question for you there, and be honest here, because I mean, don't be polite about it. If I was on his back, would I have finished?
You probably would have finished. You're the best person that I've ever trained with at finishing rear naked chokes, and you finish the chokes just phenomenally. Yeah, you probably would have finished the choke.
And the only reason I ask that, because like I finish chokes, but I send it. And that's why I wonder, because McKinney, I think, if he gets it back, I think he is going to go life or death on that choke. Whereas you're a little bit more calm, I think. And this is actually one of the things I don't like about, generally you want to stay calm in a fight. But in submissions,
fight like hell.
You got to go crazy. And you got to fight like you're just, it's all or nothing.
This is the only thing, though. Great point about would you finish. And if you guys don't know, like this is the legend, the OG. Every guy that's come to the gym, UFC fighter, world champion, like roll with Santino, takes their back and chokes him out. It's just, that's it. That's.
And I say that but I put a sense of urgency into it. Like I do not, I'm not nice about it. I'm ripping people's faces.
There's a massive difference here. McKinney does not have the technical fine details that you have done for, I don't know how long you've done it, 25 years.
I don't think he does. I think he just goes ballistic and just grabs and squeeze. And that's my point. Not that he has the technique, but that he's not going to try to do the right stuff and be calm. But I think he's just going to grab and squeeze life and absolute death. And if he doesn't get it, okay, then
I honestly think it doesn't matter. There was a couple of things I really liked in watching your guys fight back. It is an amazing fight every single time. You look dead to rights like 10 different times, and then you just powered back up and then had great moments. You're firing.
Wait, are you on EPO?
Yeah, shit.
Wait, he's
like, give me 10 seconds. I'm coming back. But it was such a great fight, such a back and forth fight, and you had such good moments. But Ribovics did a lot of really good stuff. You're right. First round. But I will say that first round, that takedown was an excellent takedown. You got so deep. And how many UFC guys, national champion wrestlers have you taken down with that exact same blast double, right? So that I don't blame him for getting taken down by that. And then round 3, he got taken down, and he did kind of your stand-up where he kind of like kept that hook and then sent that other leg through and came up with the whizzer, and it was gorgeous. And it shows he does know how to stand up. Also in that third round, he defended 5 other different takedowns, and he kept everything in front of him so well. The biggest thing I think here is, yes, one, he's calm. He's very calm. It almost
eerily calm.
It pissed me off round 1 because like watching it back, not thinking with Kamuela as our guy, but if it was anybody else, I'm like, dude, this guy is sitting here just okay to give up and lose this round. It doesn't matter to him. And he gets up and then round 2 just those body shots. But I think he does enough technically right. And I think he is getting so much better. I think this kid is a future star for sure. Out of everything that we've seen, the fights that he's had, the way that he works the body, how can that be good for somebody that has horrible cardio? You're literally banking on round 1 submission or bust, because McKinney's striking is powerful, but it's not good. And
no, I mean, and that's, I said Ribovics wins, but there's still that threat. Just like you said the other day, Haney Yaya and Victor Henry. It's like, yeah, Victor Henry's the guy, but dude, Yaya in round 1, getting a takedown, and you got to be careful not to give up your back against him. That's what I'm saying. Is again, it's Ribovics should win this. It's just, there are some moments that you got to get to 3-4 minutes of that first round to feel comfortable on it. Because, McKinney still has, I mean, the dude is always dangerous.
What's funny is I actually feel this fight's going to go exactly how that fight went. It's going to be McKinney shooting at legs. And like Victor Henry was so good at defending takedowns because he just knew that was the only path for Ronnie Yaya. That's all I have to defend. Terrance can crack for sure, but I think we've talked about this before. Maybe it was from you in your fight, but doesn't he have like an insane chin, right? He can just eat stuff for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Sandwiches.
Yeah, no problem. So, I mean, banking on a McKinney who's not very technical, you're right, is just kind of an ape and we'll just go crazy for it for a submission, I think is slim margins. I think this is I hate to say it, but I think this is a gift line on Ribovics here, who just stylistically, if he makes it out of round 1, is just the absolute nightmare for McKinney.
That's how I see it too, man. And I hope Esteban gets it done. And I think that if he weathers the storm early with McKinney, I think McKinney's going to fade. Esteban won't. And Esteban really is good. His wrestling defense was better than I was expecting it to be. Like I said, even when I had his back, he was hand fighting very well. In round 3, we were going to war. I took him down. He did the right moves, getting back.
It was
up to
great.
his feet.
Yeah.
He's a well-rounded, just all-around tough dude. I would say he's probably the toughest dude that I've been in the cage with, in any fight. And if he could just I don't see him getting knocked out against McKinney. He's got a great chin. As long as he doesn't get subbed early, I think he wins this fight.
He's just getting better. He's just getting better and better and better. Time at Killcliff is going to help his wrestling. Now, I like him, and I don't even think he has to weather the first round. I think he needs to weather the first.
I think he can win the first round.
I mean, the first 2 minutes of the first round is what I'm saying. I don't think he needs to weather the whole first round. I think
once he settles in.
Yes, I think there's just that 2 minutes of crazy McKinney where it's just a fucking tornado. So it's you just don't know what kind of chaos is going to occur. It's like John Lineker just swinging hooks. You're
but Esteban's
still
style
dangerous.
Actually is good for that because he's so calm.
Yeah.
He's so calm. So when Terrance is being chaotic and he's being a tornado and he's coming at him 1,000,000 miles an hour, and Esteban's just chilling with his hands up and his chin down, you know what I'm saying?
Dude, that's got to be the scariest shit in the world. And that's something you can't teach. Esteban just comes out. That's it. That's the scariest shit in the world, especially when you're tired.
Bro, it's like that C-Rod. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly
kind of
that
vibe about him, you know?
C-Rod. How many bodies does C-Rod have under the porch?
I wouldn't know. He blocked me.
Did he?
C-Rod?
Oh, yeah. Man of the library. Man of the library said that I was telling people that C-Rod was hurt so I could get a better line on him against Bulgarian. He believed it and blocked me.
All right, next up, we have Viacheslav, Borshchev at -148 versus Chase Hooper at +124.
It's pronounced Slavaclaus.
Slavaclaus.
Go.
I played this one this morning. I think there's a couple things to look at here. So I played this one this morning. I played Borshchev at -131. So if it's at 48 now, line's gone back up. It's been kind of teetering back and forth. Here's how it is to me. If Slava ends up on his back, the dude is a fish out of water. He is in some serious, serious trouble. However, again, game planning, team alpha male, they know that this is Chase Hooper's only prayer in this fight is to take him down, get on top, do some damage, right? It's got to be the only thing that they're working, only thing that they're drilling, because standing up, it's not a close fight. Slava can actually put volume together, where Chase volumes guys a lot, but Borshchev can hurt him, bad hurt him. I played Borshchev because of this. I was going to pass on the fight. If he was in that -150, 160 range, no good for me. I just think it's too volatile of a fight. -132, we got a little bit closer in range. It's just for me, Borshchev's been fighting really good guys. He beat Maha. He he lost to Mike Davis and to
who is the best guy that people don't know in the UFC
and a great grappler, like
and a great everything.
Yeah,
that dude is so freaking good. If he wasn't as inactive, he would be a superstar. He is freaking amazing.
So he beat Maha, knocked him out. Great fight. Lost to Mike Davis, lost to Mark DeCasey, who
is a phenomenal wrestler these days.
And never gets tired. And yeah, is a good wrestler. And then he beat Dakota Bush, who, fine, Dakota Bush is what he is, but he's a solid, fine fighter. He beat Kenley St. Louis. I remember betting on that fight, and he got almost killed. But the Kenley St. Louis fight has aged incredibly because Kenley's actually good now somehow. And then he beat he lost the split decision to Will Starks. I honestly rate like almost all those fights better than everybody that Chase has beaten, right? If we look at Chase's last fights and everyone's like, man, what an improvement.
Why look at his wins? Look at his losses.
Who?
Steven Peterson and Steve Garcia.
That's what I'm saying. But even his wins is Jordan Levitt, it's just a jiu-jitsu match, those two. He beat Nick Fiore, and Nick Fiore stood up like 30 times. Couldn't really take Nick down.
He's beating people who agree to grapple with him.
Yeah, exactly. Steve Garcia lost. He beat Felipe Colares, who's a 35er that moved up and gassed out, got tired. He beat Peter Barrett, who's not a UFC guy, lost to Peterson, Caceres. Honestly, the only impressive win to me here is Daniel Tamer, who's straight kickboxer, which I guess
beat him to an inch of his life, and then he wasn't that it where he mounted him elbow to the. Am I thinking a different fight?
I can't remember, but he fought Kenan Kawhi, and that was the same way. I get the Chase Hooper improvement. I do think he's come a long way, especially from where he was in the UFC at first. The fact of the matter is he just can't wrestle still. When Slava gets taken down, it's against a big, strong guy, athletic guy like Mike Davis. Even Nazim Sadikov, when Nazim wanted to wrestle and I was on Nazim there, it's a nice, beautiful blast double from Nazim, who is big and strong and athletic and can move. That's what's taking Slava down. It's not these wormy, hangy guys, right? I just struggle seeing Hooper get this fight to the mat. Unless he pulls guard and Slava's like, all right, cool, I'm going to engage. It's really hard for me to see that fight. Now if they do engage in grappling, Slava's in some shit. I'm not, going light on that. So it's not like my most comfortable bet. Whereas you were saying, hey, like I wouldn't put the house on Esteban because that first round, you never know. I feel that way more about this fight than that fight. Esteban to me is more solid and McKinney less dangerous. Whereas at any point, Hooper can gas somebody out, get on top and ground and pound them, choke them out. I got Slava, not super confidently, but I like Slava here.
It's funny you say, like, talking about that and the improvements in Esteban. You look at Chase Hooper, where he trains in a small gym in Washington, and they're going to be doing the same stuff again and again. And they don't have like a high level. I don't believe so. I don't believe they're doing like high level wrestling all the time.
You can tell he doesn't have high level wrestling.
Exactly. And at Team Alpha Male, Slava is actually wrestling. He's going to be getting better at wrestling all the time. It's not like he's going to be able to just do what he does. He's going to be wrestling all the time. His wrestling has looked better since we first seen him come on the scene. I watched him in that Nas fight yesterday 4 times in a row.
Sick fight, huh?
I watched the fight, and I remember watching it live, and I think I've watched it since, like, whatever. I watched that fight, and I was just in awe of Slava and just his 4-punch combos, sliding off, turning, body. Oh, it was beautiful. So then I get to, like, midway in the 3rd round, and I'm like, I'm just watching it. I just started over. Watched it again. I just was in awe. Watched it again. Got about midway through the 3rd round, and I was like, hey, Enzo, come here, just come watch this. And I just started over, and I watched it again with Enzo. It just, his striking is so beautiful to watch. And the thing about it, it's not like Pereira striking. It's not like this, he has the power, this death touch, or he just does. It's how effortless his punches are and how fast his combinations are. And how he strings together 3, 4, 5 punch combos and then slides slightly off to the left and then rips 2 body shots and then switches stances slightly off to the right and then throws a low kick. And then just, you're like, what the hell? No, Slava doesn't have a chin. And
that's my biggest problem. And if Hooper had any semblance of power, I'd be like,
oh my gosh, right? And honestly, the Nas fight where he got hurt actually hit him on top of the head. He like, like Slava's hand was like at his face covered up, and he hit him with a hook on the top of his bulbous cranium. But I mean, people know with Chase Hooper, don't engage in grappling or you lose. We saw it with Steve Garcia. We saw it with Steven Peterson. Like, disengage, swing. And Slava's not one of these strikers who's on the outside trying to like time it and go. He's comfortable staying tight, and you get close and he's shoe shining you. Give me Slava claws all day on this.
Wow, you sound pretty confident.
I like Slava here, man. I like him a lot. I like his style. I think I like his movement. Look, man, Chase gets a hold of you and he is a handful. But again, he's beating the guys who are, man, I think Levitt shot on him and then got reversed. And it's like, he's going punch for punch with Pereira. Like, don't do that.
As if the wrestling wasn't hard enough. Now you have that lateral movement of Slava, and literally his feints and in and out makes it 10 times tougher.
You know, the other thing that you have is a chin. Hooper does not have a good chin. It's not like he's some great grappler, but he could take a shot. Like, man, he is getting hit and hurt with punches.
But he's willing to walk through the storm.
Yes.
This is actually how I played it. Let me take a look. I played, it's funny. Everyone's like, well, this fight's really binary. It's either Slava knockout or Chase Hooper submission. I don't think it's that simple. I think there's 3 options. I think there's Slava knockout, or I think there's Chase knockout or submission. One thing I will give Chase a lot of credit for is his ground and pound is nasty. He gets these guys in these really compromised positions, just like that Kanan Kawhi fight. And I will say the level of jiu-jitsu and MMA, and we kind of talked about this last week, has gotten so high where so many people are good at defending chokes now, right? So you start to see a lot less of them. And then you have to revert to ground and pound. And Chase kind of is like weirdly.
He's good on top.
He's good on top.
And he has really good ground and
throws
pound.
elbows, punches.
And I actually like Chase up a weight class at 155 better than I did at 45.
100%. So I played Slava to win 2,000 at that -131 line, and then I put Chase Hooper knockout at plus 1,600. I hit that too.
Okay, nice. Okay.
All right.
Cool. Next, we have Waldo Cortes-Acosta plus 164 against Robelis Despaigne minus 198.
Robelis, I mean, it's funny because that dude is an athlete. He is a super athlete. Bronze in the Olympics, is that correct? Before he fought, what the hell was it? The last Parisian. Yeah, I was trying to just remember his name. Before he fought Parisian, his combined opponents' record were like 2-712.
Typical Cuban, huh?
Typical Cuban. Nah, he's a super athlete, man. He's a super athlete. He's a Taekwondo guy. I mean, lunging in, high kicks, spinning kicks. That's that. And then you have Waldo Cortes, who is not. I've been pretty critical of Waldo Cortes a lot. We saw him just get eaten up with those leg kicks. I'm surprised Vandere didn't do more on those leg kicks. But he's got a good jab, and he actually has a good fastball overhand right. Like, he was pitching that thing. That's what
literally, like, from the Dominican Republic, is hilarious.
Yeah, but from like he's pitching it. I mean, it looks like he's throwing
baseball,
a ball.
yeah.
And the thing with Robelis is he doesn't throw leg kicks because he's a Taekwondo guy. They throw all head kicks and all spinning stuff and all that, but they don't just chop down the leg. And then with Robelis, we don't know what he looks like after a round because none of his fights have gone over a round. And then Waldo, for as limited as his skills are, he's got a good chin. He's durable. He can go 3 rounds. We know what we're getting with Waldo. And he's going decisions with guys who I don't think are very good. I could see a Robelis knockout like, hey, man, we've seen it. But the thing that, like, in that Parisian fight, he lunged in there and swung and then fell. And when he came up, his chin was right there just swinging. Like, dude, if he does that with Cortes is going to touch that chin and swing. Cortes is just so much more athletic and fundamentally sound than like a Parisian in a stand-up battle. And then, there's so many unknowns with Robelis. I don't hate Waldo Cortes on the upset win. He was plus 160 yesterday when I was looking at it.
It's going to climb more too as the week goes.
You think so?
After I bet Robelis, yeah, for sure.
Really? I could absolutely see Robelis. If you played Robelis early, I would great. He can win in round one if it goes after round one, see how it goes. And maybe Waldo looks really good to hedge after round one ends. But there's so many unknowns with Robelis still. You just don't know. Like, he's a super athlete. We've seen him beat up tomato cans. I kind of like Waldo Cortes. Again, if I was allowed to bet, I'm betting Robelis pre, and then I'm hedging Waldo Cortes. I don't even know after round one. I think like 3 minutes into round one, if you kind of see how it goes.
So if you were allowed to bet, maybe like, Waldo round two,
well,
round
yeah,
three.
I mean, just in terms of betting lines and stuff like that. Like, I don't
allegedly, yeah.
But yeah, I kind of like Waldo for the upset.
I think you're probably wrong on this one, and here's why. Like, we're at the stage of MMA where those like mysteries are so long on. Remember the days where like a weight miss was like actually detrimental to the fight. It mean this guy literally didn't train, or he had an injury, or there was a botched part of the weight cut. Now a weight miss is like, nah, I want to be a little bit heavier. I'm all good with that. Yep. And then remember the days when it was like, round one, if they go all out, it's an easy live bet against the other guy. And now it's like, nah, not really. These people will still recover just fine. And
but we've never seen Robelis fight past 2 minutes. And so that's what I mean. The mystery is, if he doesn't finish somebody after 3 minutes, what does he look like? Because we've literally never seen
what state does he live in?
He is in Florida. He's going to be just fine.
He's in Florida around all the other Cubans.
I'm not worried about his cardio. I'm worried about the adrenaline, the craziness, the fighting at
the dude had to climb on a boat across the sea. What are you talking about? The adrenaline. He had helicopters looking for him in the middle of the ocean. You think adrenaline of a couple people? He's doing the same thing he done his whole life. What you mean adrenaline? The dude fought legitimately, the dude fought in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Okay. The adrenaline, like, I think half these guys, if they're smart, would trade all the UFC accolades they ever had for a medal in the Olympics. Like, that's like the biggest honor. That's crazy cool. I think. I mean, it's cool. It's amazing. And it's a lot of pressure you're putting on for your nation that you just left and fled. Anyways, I think everyone's going to overthink this one. I don't like Waldo. I thought I liked Waldo. I don't like Waldo.
I'm not a big, not like I dislike him as a human. I just skill wise, I'm not huge on him.
It just like it wasn't that long ago when I started fighting here in Arizona. Waldo was looked at like a can here in Arizona. It wasn't like he was like, oh, this is the next guy. He was just a tomato can like everybody else. And then somehow he caught wind and got a couple wins, and now he was the guy. You can't count on him to fight a smart game plan. And you were saying the thing about the leg kicks, but like the leg kicks have literally never affected him. He just eats 5 million, but they don't really affect him. He just keeps walking through.
They did in that loss where he was starting to like hobble around a bit, and then
he's just stupid. Like, he's just dumb. Like, can't. He's the new Roman Delides. He just like.
I think Roman's infinitely better than Waldo Cortes.
Better, yes, but IQ wise, it's not. He wants to dance around in close rounds and not seal them and just make so many little mistakes. And then at the end of the day, you have a 6'7" super athlete with a Taekwondo bronze medal in the Olympics. Like, that's some serious stuff. I'm not one to go all out. Robelis will have his day. The second he fights a grappler or a guy that will, not die and push the pace, I think his time is done. I think that Waldo is such bad fight IQ and throws his punches so short because they are all like baseballs that he's going to let Robelis pick him apart. So even if it's not a first round knockout, like the whole world is going to be on, maybe that's the square play. But I think Robelis is going to destroy him either way, whether it's a decision, whether it's a first, second round knockout. I think Waldo is going to give him why would Waldo ever have a good game plan? That seems silly to me.
True. Okay.
All right, next we got Bruce Leroy, Alex Caceres at plus 164 versus Sean Woodson at minus 198.
I'll let you talk about this first, but beforehand, I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast or not. I probably have 100 times, but my CTE is kicking in. When I used to write for Vice before they went under, I wrote an article on Bruce Leroy meeting the real Bruce Leroy. Do you?
No, that's so cool.
Yes. And so I wrote an article on him. I interviewed Alex, and the original guy who did that movie was a nut, and he went there and met him in New York City, and he was like, I'm your trainer now. And just like Alex was like, okay. And then like the first day they started up on the roof, and he's like, jump rope for like an hour. He made Alex jump rope, and he was really crazy. And wanted like more money and demanded first class airfare to the flight and like a better, like it was really weird. And then after the article came out, the guy was actually publicly bashing me for writing the article. He's like, this is a hit piece. This is bullshit, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, it's just a really funny, weird, random thing. So I like every time I see Bruce Leroy, I'm like, oh man, this guy. So give me your thoughts on the fight. Well, yeah, go.
This is actually the one fight I didn't tape, so I'm not going to give too many. I like Caceres' game. I think he's a really good grappler. I think because of Woodson's experience, he's the one guy that knows that everybody's going to try to grapple him, and he's actually gotten pretty savvy. Then I think it comes down to the striking on the feet, which I think is going to play out pretty close. But Sean is a very confident boxer. He rolls everything well. He strings together volume. But then we also see what what Saldana did to him. Fast, dynamic strikes over the top, rocking him. Like, I would never play Woodson at juice. That's not a play for me. I think Caceres has constantly overperformed what his value's always been on the marketplace. But this matchup seems tough for him to me. So, if I have to pick, I'll pick Woodson as a winner, but as a bet, I'm passing this fight altogether.
Man, it's funny because if I have to pick, I pick Caceres over nothing more than, like you said, it's close, super close. But I pick Caceres, not skill for skill, but he outperforms and just
always finds a way to win.
Yes. And
even in the grappling, we kind of talked about Aljo that one time, and he's like split decision with Chase Hooper, split decision. He lost to that guy Dantzler on the grappling stuff. And Caceres is the opposite. He like keeps finding ways to win and beat everybody.
No, that's actually why I would like, all right, gun to my head, I'm choosing Caceres because I do think this is such a close fight. But man, Caceres gets the back and gets those chokes.
His grappling is amazing.
It's really good. And then
did you teach him that?
No, I didn't. So you've got Woodson who's long and knows. It's so funny because Woodson knows how to fight long, and it's hard for people to get inside on him. But then he does a really good job fighting close range, shoulder rolling and moving and uppercuts.
Has anyone made the comparison to Caitlin Chukagian?
No, I don't know if they have. Yeah.
He's the male Caitlin Chukagian. They fight the same way, like shoulder rolling, like bobbing, swagging.
Yeah, and he's hard to take down because he knows we talk about it with like Chukagian, with these tall women, with these tall people. You don't necessarily have to be a good wrestler. You just have to be tall and know to just kind of like scarecrow out. And
you just get wide.
Yeah, and most of the time it's really hard for people to take you down because it's just so much leverage. We have a guy, we call him Tall Eric. He's 6'6". He's just hard to take down because he's so damn tall.
I've taken him down before.
And but Woodson, man, he does a lot of stuff really well. Caceres, the thing is though, is most people press Woodson and try to find their way on the inside. I actually think Caceres is going to float on the outside.
Counterpunch him.
Yes. And I don't even know. I don't know. This is a really close one. But what are the odds on this? What do we say?
Caceres is plus 164 and Woodson's minus 198.
Okay, so it's not. I thought it was wider than that. Like you said, it's hard to play Woodson on a wider line with the age and the factor. I mean, I don't hate Woodson here, but I wouldn't touch this money wise because Caceres is just such a winner.
I know. Trust me, I know.
Yeah, it's just so weird. I thought he was going to win actually against not win.
Yusuf?
Not win, but I thought he was going to get murdered by Yusuf.
Oh.
And then, man, he just does stuff. I mean, I got to go Woodson. I think the age and I think just the style of Woodson, I think is going to be a point fest. And I think if either of these people get overly aggressive, I think the other one is going to do a really good job countering. But I think both of them are going to stay on the outside in kind of a somewhat boring fight. Like, oh, you go, no, you go. Wait, where's my in? And I think with that, I think Woodson is just a little bit better on the outside doing the long range fight. So I think Woodson is going to get the win. But man, I'm going to go Woodson here.
I guess I have a bet on Woodson at minus 110 to win 500.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
I think that's good.
That's solid. All right.
All right, next, Diego Ferreira plus 250 versus Mateusz Rębecki minus 310.
Am I up? You up? Am I up?
I don't think we've done that for the last like 9 shows. We just kind of like last week, I think you went first every single time. And so it's whatever.
So, I mean, I think you went, I don't know, man. I think Rębecki here, just, I don't think there's a lot. I think his head movement on the inside is really good. He's powerful. I think 39-year-old Ferreira was, I mean, just getting pieced apart by Michael Johnson before. Johnson is that guy who will find a way to lose. Like, he's so good.
That was really frustrating.
He's so good. Just, like, was that just a lucky shot, or was Johnson just sleeping, or I don't know, man. But
Johnson's the best, worst fighter of all time.
Gosh,
no, the worst, best fighter of all time.
Yes.
I should say it backwards.
He is so amazing. And then we'll find a way to lose. Like, he just, it's unreal. Like, Cub Swanson back in the day was that way. I think Oliveira, before he went on his run, was kind of that way, where like, gosh, like, he's just so good, and the weird shit and just stuff. Ferreira's old. He's 39. I mean, I don't think he has the wrestling. I don't think he's got the, dude, even the thing that worries me is Rębecki. Here's what worries me is he took Roosevelt Roberts down, beautifully took his back, and then swung for an armbar 2 minutes into the fight. He got it. That is just a bad idea. Like that type of fight IQ worries me against an ultra vet type guy like Ferreira. I mean, should he win? Absolutely. He's got power. He presses the pace. I actually like their opposite stance. You don't see people. He did it to Loic, man. The inside leg kick, he just ate it up and really made life hard for Loic. Good power, good boxing. Like I said it 3 times now. Beautiful head movement in the pocket. Everything says Rębecki. I like Rębecki here. Arm bars from the back are just scary. Like,
come on, that's the new wave.
It's just that if he's gonna do that, he's gonna jump Gilly. If he's gonna do that, he's gonna do any of the bad stuff that we never want to see in a fight. But I still like him here.
I was training last week and I hit a guillotine with a. It's the first time I've said that, a guillotine with the arm in. And I thought to myself, like, that was fucking good submission. And then my second thought was, I want to throw up. I don't even try them anymore because I'm like, man, why would I do these?
Anthony Smith, folks.
Sick. That was crazy. Man, looking at this fight, like just on paper, I was like, man, this is the time everybody's going to load up on Rębecki. How do you say? Rębecki. Oh, producer Kamal went to the mic to tell us. He's so proud of that. I thought this was going to be the time where like everyone's going to load up on him and CDF's going to be like, you thought. And it still could be that way. Here's the thing. If you told me that Rębecki is going to proactively grapple, I'm staying as far away from this fight as possible. He can win this fight super easily if he just strikes. I don't want to see him wrestle because the thing with him wrestling is that's what's going to give CDF the counters. And if you ever noticed, like watching the Gamrot fight, first of all, looking at CDF's record is unbelievable. Yeah. The dude's got insane wins, really close losses against high level competition. And if we're kind of doing the same thing that we did to Chase Hooper, I mean, he beat Nick Fior, Loic Rajabov, and then Roosevelt Roberts, who's a UFC washout too. So it's like, and then CDF's beating Taisimov.
Well, this is the Anthony Smith Vitor Petrino fight last week. We talked about last week. We asked who's going to be the parlay buster, and we're like, I don't know, this and that. We're thinking about it, and stupid in hindsight, of course it is. We had Bonfim fighting a 41-year-old who hadn't fought in 2 years. We had Michelle Pineda fighting a bad Ihor, and then we had Kayao fighting a one-dimensional Paul Craig. And then we had Vitor Petrino fighting a very good fighter in Anthony Smith, who's just chinny and old, 35, not even like 40.
Super old, yeah.
So, like, of course it was going to be the best guy was going to win if anyone was going to win. It was out of all of the big dogs, the best guy won.
But I mean, look at this resume. Beat Olivier Aubin-Mercier, beat Jared Gordon, beat Kyle Nelson, Rustam Khabilov, Maribek Taisimov, Anthony Pettis, and then he lost to Gamrot, split to Peniel Dariush, and lost to Gregor Gillespie. Like, the big difference too, and we saw this a little bit in the Fior fight, is Rębecki doesn't have insane cardio. For some reason, I thought that I never got to watch the Roosevelt Roberts fight until today. I thought that went to decision or something like that, but he won so quickly. And even against Loic, he won so quickly. So what does middle of round 2 look like for him against a guy that's not Nick Fior? What does round 3 look like against a guy that's not Nick Fior? A guy that he can't just wrestle anytime he feels like he's getting tired, right? And rest on top. Because the thing about CDF is he's going to attack stuff. Against Gamrot could never feel comfortable on the top. And that's what Gamrot's whole game is take you down, I'm sliding, and then I'm on top and top time, and I'm going to work my top submissions. He said, absolutely not, because the second that they hit the mat, CDF was attacking triangles, legs, arms. He was grabbing a hold of them. And, like as a massive favorite, I think like I would want to know what Rębecki's game plan is going to be. If it's just striking, CDF's really old now and seems a bit fragile and doesn't have a lot of process with his striking. Rębecki's going to trap him in a corner, bomb on him, hurt him bad, I think, right? But if he starts shooting double legs, that's not a game I want any part of. I accidentally played CDF, like thinking without watching tape. I regret that now. It's going to be like my Marnik Man bet from a few weeks ago. So I'm going to have to figure out how to get out of it. I think Rębecki should win the fight. It's not like he's completely outmatched as a grappler. He's got good top game. The cardio is what worries me, and then the neck attacks from CDF. So I think Rębecki's going to win. I think not that the line's necessarily wide. It could look like value if he just goes out and steamrolls them. But there is some inherent danger here, methinks.
No, I think you're right. The Anthony Pettis fight, where he looked pretty good in that, was 4 years ago. And, man, the difference between 35 and 39 is massive.
Well, unless you're Brazilian and you got that fresh juice.
No, at some point you fall off. Like your body just falls off. And like he had a split decision with Benny Dariush right after that, but that's a grappling match. You know what I mean? Now you get.
But this could very well be a grappling match.
No, it could, but you've got a jiu-jitsu. It's a jiu-jitsu match. And those two things are a little bit different because and then you have the Gregor Gillespie fight, which I think is a little bit more indicative where.
Wasn't he whooping that ass and then eventually got dogged?
No, Gillespie went in there and was like, let's go get tired. And Gillespie wrestled harder than I've ever seen anybody wrestle. And they both went back to their stools after round 1 and were like, oh my God, I want to die. And Gillespie said, hold my beer.
This is my last fight ever.
And he went and did it again and just dogged it, which was amazing. Now, Gillespie, I think, is probably a much better wrestler than Rębecki.
Of course, yeah.
But and I think Gamrot is a better wrestler than him, who went death for death. But then we see the Michael Johnson fight, and that's when
he looked
Ferreira looked old. Yes, yeah. He was just before that. I'm looking at his record, and I know Ferreira, and it's like
if this is 35-year-old CDF,
dude,
run it.
And then just in that Michael Johnson fight, he just looked old and frail. And the other thing though is he didn't look, man. He got the knockout, but that was so lucky because he was just losing that fight. But why wasn't he wrestling? Why wasn't he in there trying to create a grappling match against a guy who is always losing grappling matches against heel hooks? And
that fight made me go back and look at his record. And I heard I think Cormier say like, oh, he beat Tyson back in the day. And so I'm watching that fight, old frail guy with no process, like Parkinson's and shit. And then I was like, he really beat all these guys. That's insane.
It's nuts. Dude, his resume is unreal, but man, at some point you just get old. And I think this is just youth winning right here.
I think this is a star making card. Like if we're looking at this card, a lot of these people are fighting, older folks.
You're right. Caceres,
Woodson and in Woodson's hometown, right? You have Hardy, who's kind of like a second wave star. Against JJ Aldrich, who's been around forever. Jousset is the new fancy toy against a guy who's second stint in the UFC.
2-4.
Yeah, Jared Gooden. Trey Waters against Billy Goff, and they've been giving Billy Goff as the feeder for a lot of prospects, but he's been winning. Yep. You have McKinney and Ribovics. I think that's a clear A side. Tabatha Ricci, who is younger, versus the old vet in Tecia Torres. Like, you could run some insane stars of the future parlay. I think you can get paid.
Yeah, I think that's solid. I think if you just go star style and
Robelis, Sean Woodson, Rębecki, Carlos. Well, we'll get to that one. All right.
All right. Next, Alonzo Menifield plus 205 versus Carlos Ulberg minus 250.
He gets Rębecki and messes up Olberg.
That's your clansmate or your tribe mate, whatever. You guys both got them tattoos. Equally as
Which
handsome.
Carlos?
Yeah, Olberg.
Yeah.
He's from one of those islands, I think.
Who we got, boys? Who we got?
I got Olberg here.
I got 20 minutes, then I gotta hit the road.
Okay, we'll make these quick. We got
your
three
wife's out of town too?
Gotta go take care of the kids. Pick them up from school.
Yeah, we've gone a little bit longer on this one, but we owed it to you guys, I think, a little bit. I got Olberg here. I think Olberg's going to do everything that Jacoby should have done. He's younger, faster, more spry, hits a lot harder, less willing to put his face into danger. The only thing I don't like in his last fight is how he was backing up the entire time and was playing with his back against the fence. That being said, I think Da-Un Jung is a way better striker than Menifield. Menifield looks drunk and horrible when he's throwing punches. He's 36 now. Obviously, he's got insane power. But that same teetering line that he's always on is like, if he goes so hard, he gasses out because he's going like crazy. But then if he's going, technical, he's just going to get picked apart. So for some reason, like right after the card on Saturday, this line dropped to -200. I smacked that to win 2,000. And now it's back up to what, -255, 265, something like that. I don't think this is going to be a particularly close fight. Now, my biggest debate in this fight is that over under, that 1.5. Does this fight go over? Olberg is a patient striker, and I think Menifield is, obviously a step above Ihor Potieria and these kind of guys. I think it'll probably go over 1.5, and then I think that Olberg will probably dead him in the second or the third round.
I like Olberg here. I mean, the thing that everyone likes is power, but man, his footwork is great. He moves laterally so well.
His feints.
He wasn't patient against Kennedy and went in for the kill, death gassed himself, lost that fight. And then afterwards, he's like, all right, I'm going to be patient. Honestly, too patient sometimes, which we saw him. Was it Fabio Charant?
Yeah, that was an annoying fight.
Oh, it's like, oh my gosh, just like beat this guy. But he was like, no, I don't want to get tired. I think his skills are great. I don't like his chin. He floats that up. It's like, and you'll see him, you can tell he's aware of it because he'll be fighting, that chin will be up, and then you'll see him like tuck it, and then he'll like tuck it, and you see him, so he knows that's a thing, but he's super athletic. He does pull really well. His footwork is great. And I actually liked in the Da-Un Jung fight, third round Da-Un. It's funny because they were like, man, Olberg is death gassed after that, blah, 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 after the wrestling. But I don't think he was. I think that took more out of Jung than it did out of Olberg. And Olberg got taken down. He scooted the cage. He got wrist control. He got back up. I mean, he did all of the right stuff.
Dude is good.
In the end of a third round against a massive guy on him. And of course, he was a little tired from it. And I thought he wore it well. And I think he was good. And then he took down and finished him. Well, I don't know if he finished him or not. I think they called it 1 second left.
Yeah.
And it ended up, it looked like it hit the bell, but then like, oh, he actually tapped right before and whatever. But I like Aldrich here. He's a star.
Yep.
All right. In the co-main, Joaquin Buckley -166 versus Nursultan Ruziboev +140.
Buckley in his hometown at 170. Okay, I was like, make sure it was at 170. Because I thought Ruziboev, didn't he fight at 85?
Yeah,
he fought.
fights, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so he's coming down. Buckley, I think, looks good at 170. I think he looks really good. But Buckley, man, it's funny. I think he gets a bad rap because he's been so athletic and done these amazingly dynamic things before. I think people think that that's all he has. His wrestling has gotten really good. His footwork and angles are really good. He does this thing where he's always inching left and right and shifting his shoulders. And he does a really good job of keeping that movement going and then throwing within the movement. And so you don't know if he's just shifting and moving or if he's going to explode. He mixes his wrestling in really well. Ruziboev, I think we all thought that Carlos, who was it? Who did he knock out when he hit the ground? Bruno Ferreira, not Carlos, sorry. Bruno Ferreira. And actually, I think I've mentioned this before, I don't think he knocked him out with the punch standing. I think he caught a kick and hit him and timed it. And then when he ground and pounded, I think he just hit him with that one good, clean shot. And I think both of us thought that Ferreira was going to win that fight.
Because we went off the pre-UFC
Yeah,
fight tape, the narrative, which happens so many times, and people continue to lose money.
Continue to lose money. And then he beat Cedric Dumas, who's not amazing. I mean, like, I don't know how you, I mean, he looked good doing it, but Cedric Dumas is I don't think he's great.
You're going to fall in the trap again.
So, no, I'm not falling in the Ribovics is a bad fighter via his tape. I think Buckley is legitimately good. I think Buckley has good cardio now. He has good fight IQ. Man, I think Buckley is really a top fighter at this point. I mean, look at his last few wins. Beautiful performance against Luque. Very technical, smart performance against Alex Morono, where he dominated that and landed really good shots, didn't overdo anything. I mean, looked great on the Andre Fiallo fight, but Fiallo is not age great. And then if you look at his last 2 losses at 85, Chris Curtis and Nasruddin Imavov, I mean, that third round against Imavov, Imavov was death gassed, and man, Buckley came on and looked great. The Curtis fight, man.
He was doing well. He was winning.
I think if he fights Curtis now, he wins at whatever weight, because that was that Curtis's first fight back?
I can't remember.
Let me see really quick.
But it was at 185.
No, it was not his first fight back. The Brendan Allen, or maybe no, Phil Haas was the first one back. But Curtis is just so durable, man. And I think Buckley was like, okay, I'm winning, I'm dead. So, man, I'm big. I'm high on Buckley. I like him in his hometown. I got Buckley here.
I watched that. I told you I watched that fight with Charles Johnson. Me and C-Rod were sitting in the stands, and Charles Johnson was behind us, and obviously they're teammates. And he was devastated, to say the least, when he got knocked out. I think you just swung me. I've been doing this thing this year, and it's worked out a lot better for me. Is like, you know, a lot of us, and maybe I've already gone on this rant. We take and
I like it though, and I think you're right. So say it again.
Yeah, we have to reinforce it. A lot of us go so hard on the pre-UFC tape, and we're so hard-headed. We want to be right so bad that we will constantly go against the star power, go against these people that we think are so, you know, like the UFC's pushing, and they found some new secret recipe, and now they're all of a sudden really good because we want to, like, hey, that tape was bad, so now they need to pay for it now. And we've seen that with so many people. Karine Silva is not a world champion. She's not amazing, but she's going to continue to win fights because of, one, matchmaking, and two, whatever weird aura this is, the physicality, the whatever. BSD, DDP, Rujiboev, right?
What is
Guskov? Yeah, I made tons on Guskov. I don't think he's better in any form or facet.
They just win. They just
finds a way.
Yep.
And there's a few of them on this card, and Rujiboev is one of them. But this actually is one that I think I'm going to go the other way on this one particularly.
And before you keep going, I think Rujiboev is done well. We didn't like him pre-UFC. I think he's a lot better than that pre-UFC tape. I think he's actually going to do well and beat a lot of these guys. I just think Buckley is good.
Buckley's boxing is really nice. The way that he gets inside, he works the body shots, his kicks from the outside. People forget he's like a Taekwondo guy or something like that. Like, that was his base to begin with. Can you imagine running a Taekwondo parlay on this? Buckley, Robelis, and Hardy all together, 3 of those. You know, this is his hometown. The dude is tough. The dude just has an aura about him. Almost reminds me of like Volkanovski. Like, I'm so good, I'm not going to lose. Like, there's nothing else. Like him partying at the place in the last time.
It's crazy.
It's crazy, but he just is that confident he's going to win. The weight cut is of note to me. You know, people were saying, okay, well, Rujiboev weighed in under 185 for, you know, his first fight or whatever, so the cut shouldn't be too hard. Maybe that's true. Maybe the cut's not too hard, but 15 pounds is a big jump. And it's a big jump if you don't have cardio, and it's a big jump if you need to get up off the bottom. If this is a pure striking affair, maybe Rujiboev kills him, and he's so much bigger, taller, whatever. But, man, Buckley moves his head well. Buckley's game to get inside. Buckley can wrestle his ass off. He's willing to push a pace, and it's in front of his hometown crowd. Like, I think this is the one time that this weird aura is not going to make a difference because it's a short notice fight. It's down a weight class. So you can even say, hey, this is there was a reason he lost, and then he'll go back to 185 and start knocking guys out again. But I think I like Buckley here.
It's funny you say that. The only reason I don't like this fight is kind of a short notice for Buckley as well. And I hate when people fight too often because they don't, like with our guys, if you fight today.
They fought on the same card, right? Both Atlantic City.
I like people to have a build up in a camp and be annoyed and get that aggressiveness. I want people to be so fucking annoyed when they fight. It's like, all right, go unleash it. I want people to be cranky and over camp.
He's cranky that he's not the main event.
There you go. And so I don't like people fighting too loose because then you don't have anything to lose. You don't care. And I want them to be a little bit more annoyed.
You don't want them too comfortable.
Yeah. And I say it all the time. You tell me somebody that anytime I've ever heard in my life, oh, I'm not even nervous. I'm like, well, here's a loss.
I said that before my last fight, but I was inherently aware of what I was saying. I knew that wasn't a positive thing to say, but on the other side of things, I was like, I put in so much work and preparation that I know what my mission is and that I'm going to go kill him. But I understand what you're saying 100%.
Yeah. Let's go. Main event time.
You want to do a quick promo?
Oh, man. Who are we getting our odds from on this show?
Oh, dude. Fight Chalk. You heard of him?
No. Tell me about Fight Chalk.
Fight Chalk. Brandon knows all about him. Good. Brandon, you tell him.
Yeah, I love Fight Chalk. As you guys can tell on this card, chalk is one of my favorite things in the world. I eat it. I blow it. I sniff it, snort it, inject it, suppository it. I love Fight Chalk. Okay, so go get you some. When you're sweaty, it dries you up. Fight Chalk. Check it out.
Is that .com?
.com, fightchalk.com. Or .net or .edu, either one.
That was beautiful. I knew you would do a much better job than I ever could have. So nice.
Brandon, promo work.
Thanks, Brandon. Main event?
Fightchalk.com. Blow it out your ass.
I think instead of paying us for this, I think we now owe them $10,000
for all the fines.
Derrick Lewis, Rodrigo Nascimento. What are the odds here?
All right. Derrick Lewis minus 148. Rodrigo Nascimento plus 124.
All right. I'm going on this. Dude's going life and death with Dontel, Tanner Bozier, Alir Latifi, and got knocked out by Chris Dawkins against a guy who can knock you out. Derrick Lewis. Like I just, in the better fights, like we've been choosing against Lewis and some stuff, and Almeida, man, he stayed on his back and stayed calm. Derrick Lewis is so big. When Almeida was mounted on him, it was like he was riding a whale. He couldn't even put his knees on the ground. He couldn't even posture up to strike, because if he did, Derrick Lewis is like, and would like turn to the left or right, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I'm falling into the ocean, and the sharks are going to get me. Yeah, and
they have to get a crane to move him.
And he, like, as dumb as Lewis is, not dumb, but as silly as he fights, man, he will sprawl. He can offensively wrestle. He'll just throwing high kicks at you.
He's so athletic.
Against Nascimento, who just like touches and pokes and is there and is just like, I don't think Nascimento can take him down. And then I don't think Nascimento can knock him out. Like, I mean, he can. Everyone can. Heavyweights can.
But he's going to have to get close enough to do it.
Yeah. And then do you want to do that? Like, man, give me Derrick Lewis all day long times 2.
I didn't do a ton of research for this fight. I always mix up. This is crazy. I mix up Nascimento and Alan Badeau all the time.
That's a weird one.
No, because they're both, like you said, they're both like weird, like little skinny. They're skinny in the arms and the legs, but they're kind of fat in the tummy.
Yeah,
they just poke and poke and poke, and they don't really commit to shit. They underperform constantly. I used to like Nascimento. He's made me some money when I was in Hawaii. I was like, let's go, balling. But it was all close fights, extremely close margins, every which way that you can cut it. I kind of think the same thing. I think this is, Derrick Lewis is a star also, has already been a star. Win or lose, he makes everything entertaining.
But let's look at this. Derrick Lewis is from Texas, and Derrick Lewis is Derrick Lewis. This fight is in St. Louis. Like, this is for Derrick Lewis to main event a card.
Of course, yeah. And that dude legitimately gets hurt a lot, and he's going to have to get close and engage with Derrick Lewis. And saying that just in itself, over the course of 5 rounds, if he's going life and death with Dontel Mays, a split with Dontel Mays, and Mays isn't the worst ever, right?
No, he's fine.
He's fine. Yeah. He's athletic. I think Derrick Lewis is probably a better Dontel Mays. Makes less mistakes, does things a little bit better,
power,
and hits a lot harder. I think I'm with you. I like I like Dontel Mays and Derrick Lewis here.
No, I like Dontel Mays here for the win.
All right. Well, that's another episode. Gabe, go pick up your illegitimate children. This is like Drake Kirk over here. One last thing. I just had a question because I know you love Tom Brady. Did you happen to watch that last night?
Dude, I'm watching the roast with my child, and I got about 10, 15 minutes in, and Kindle is like, oh, yeah, we've got to change this because it was just not kid appropriate. But, man, when Kill Tony was on there.
He was the best. Jeff Ross was incredible.
Oh, my gosh.
The girl, Nikki Glazer.
I think she went on before I turned it on. We were like watching or eating dinner, and then Kendall was like, oh, it's on live. And so we jumped on and we watched. I'm going to have to go back and rewatch it without a child.
Her part, unbelievable. She did a great job. Tony was probably I would say number one, him. Number two was probably her. And then 3 was Schultz. He ends the show.
Okay.
Bill Belichick gets on.
Oh, all of it was.
Bill Belichick was incredible.
Really? I didn't see Bill. I saw Edelman and I saw Gronk up there roasting, and they were solid.
So Belichick goes before them. What's great is people don't understand this. It's timing. You watched Randy Moss. Did you watch his?
No.
Awful. Randy Moss just up there talking, making jokes.
Reading
nobody
the teleprompter.
He just made jokes nobody understood. Bill Belichick is so dry, but knows how to poke fun at himself, and the timing was incredible. It made me like I was tearing up. But it was funny watching this with my girlfriend who does not watch TV at all. Like she literally thinks like her life force is being sucked out if she watches any form of TV. And the very first 2 jokes were about Giselle, and Giselle's from the same state as my girlfriend. And then what's his name? Schultz gets up and goes, yeah, and Dana White's here to show Tom how to fuck a Brazilian out of half their purse. And I just look at her and she just starts laughing. It's funny. All these Brazilian jokes.
Oh, solid. I need to go back and watch that whole thing. If you haven't watched it, Tom Brady roast was live on Netflix.
Live on Netflix.